the other question that you know you're going to get is, tell me about a time you failed, or tell me about your weaknesses, or what don't you do well, right? It's some version of the like, tell me where, what's wrong with you. And the worst way you can possibly answer that question is in this fake kind of like self-depreciating, well, sometimes I work too hard. Like, that's nonsense, right? Like, that's ridiculous. I know you're lying. You know you're lying. It doesn't get us anywhere. So I want you to answer the question in a better way, in a way that actually shows that you understand yourself, that you're self-aware, and that you're actually growth-minded. So answer the question something like this. Well, sometimes I tend to get ahead of myself and I forget to check in with others to make sure they're on board with the project. But what I'm doing to handle that in the future is that I now make sure that before I go forward, I remind myself to go back and check in with all of who the important stakeholders might be before I go ahead and I press send. Something like that that says, here's a real thing I've had in the past. Here's what I'm doing with it in the future. So if you can point to something that you've done wrong, something where you've made a mistake, something that was a colossal failure, totally fine. As long as you're saying, I can turn the lens back on myself and know that it was me and I'm now moving forward. The worst way you can handle that is either in a kind of nonsense, like it's not really a real problem, or saying something like, well, in the past, when something's gone wrong, it was his fault or their fault or the resource's fault or some other like pointing fingers problem. Show me that you can turn the lens on yourself. Show me that you've learned. Show me that you know how to correct it in the future. And then what'll happen is when I do your reference checks, I might say, hey, they told me about a time when this thing didn't go right. And then I'm going to hear the same story from the people with whom you worked. And then I'm going to say, they know themselves. They figured it out. They're moving forward. I now don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm going to bring them on board.